coming up.
Time now to move a motion that I put on notice with respect to EV battery manufacturing facilities.
And we should not be playing games with the future of communities like ours, like mine, working class communities that have gone through hell in the last 8 years.
Particularly struck by the fact that he said his community's been through hell the last 8 years. I can understand why on this Liberal government, why his community's been through hell in the last 8 years. And
Point of order, Mr. Chair. Point of order, Mr. Chair. I don't appreciate Mr. Perkins putting words in my mouth that I did not speak. So if you could take that back, I'd appreciate it, especially on an issue as important as this.
Point of order, Chair. I don't appreciate Mr. Kuzmarchuk not knowing that not appreciating something is not a point of order.
Hey, thank you.
This guy's garage. Like and subscribe.
The balance of my time now to move a motion that I put on notice with respect to EV battery manufacturing facilities. I believe that you have that. It's the first motion I put on notice. So if I can, or if we're clear to go, then I'll proceed to speaking to the motion. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So Chair, colleagues, it is the firm conviction of Conservative members on this committee and beyond that the government should be transparent in its subsidy programs, and that those subsidy programs should be aimed at opportunities, jobs, and otherwise for Canadians. And yet we've repeatedly seen disturbing revelations that this government's subsidy programs are directly resulting in the bringing in of foreign replacement workers. The Canadian taxpayers are subsidizing foreign replacement workers because the government has not taken the steps to guarantee and protect jobs in Canada for Canadians. And with that in mind, Conservatives have put forward a clear and simple document production order. This is not about industrial operations or processes. This is about getting the contracts to look at, to allow us to see what the government did or did not do with respect to job guarantees. Do these contracts include actual job guarantees? Do they include protection for Canadian jobs? This is a simple document production motion allowing us to answer that basic question. Conservatives have been and will continue to be persistent in saying that the government should be protecting jobs for Canadians. And this is why we put forward this motion today to order the production of these contracts so that we can see whether or not the government did anything, whether the government was concerned at all with the protection of jobs for Canadians. So this is what we're putting forward today, and I hope this motion will have the support of the committee.
I know members will be surprised to learn that I support this motion, and the reason I support this motion is we've been discussing this both in industry committee here and in the House, where commitments have been made. It's okay?
Yeah, just wanted to
Yes.
show my hands.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
I thought you were the translation. Sorry. So commitments have been made by this government from the announcements of these, I think now 5 EV battery commitments by the government onwards, that this would be all about creating Canadian jobs. And we know that, of course, that in fact is not true, particularly in the construction phase. Initially when we raised the concerns around were there guarantees in the contracts about these jobs having to be Canadians, the government said, of course there were. Now, I'll preface the rest of my remarks saying I've actually read the Stellantis contract and the Volkswagen contracts, haven't yet had a chance to read the Honda ones. I'm looking forward to those ones once the government releases them publicly. Government claimed that, as I said, all these jobs, both in the construction phase, with the exception of a few specialty jobs, would be jobs that were for Canadians. And in fact, that's not the case. The Canadian Building Trade Union wrote to the Prime Minister, I believe it was last week or April 10th, with the following letter. And this is what the Executive Director wrote to the Prime Minister. We are writing to request your personal intervention to resolve the ongoing use of international workers in the construction of the Stellantis and LG Nexstar EV battery plant in Windsor, Ontario. Over the last several months, Canada's building and trades unions have diligently worked to secure an agreement to ensure Canadians are employed in the construction and installation phases of this project. Through several months of fruitless meetings with Stellantis and LG, our efforts so far have failed due to LG and Stellantis' intransigence. Despite our best efforts at negotiating a resolution without public or media commentary, LG and Stellantis continue to use international workers through subcontractors for work which our members are ready and able to perform.
Now, I understand that the industry committee is currently studying this. They have a motion, I believe.
C-27.
Excuse me?
We're studying C-27. It's a motion to me.
We can talk later, Rick. This is better discussed. This motion would be better placed at Indu because they're currently embarking on a study, or rather they're already studying this very topic. That's my understanding. So I'm going to make an amendment that we insert the following words at the beginning of the motion. That the following motion, that the committee refer the following motion to the Standing Committee on Industry and Technology. So that would go right before in regards.
I assume you're going to address what's going on in Indu, Mr. Perkins? Okay. All right. Go ahead on the amendment, Mr. Perkins. Yeah. We're on the amendment now.
Okay.
And Mr. Perkins says this is the only person I see with the hands up.
Okay.
Is that okay with you, Mr. Bill?
I'm just I'm asking. It's not you're the chair. I'm just asking where we are.
Yeah, I won't,
Go ahead,
I
Mr.
won't be
Perkins.
long on this point. No,
Hold on 2 seconds. Mr. Kuzmierczak, we have your hand up for the previous speaking order. Is this also on the amendment, or is that from the previous speaking order, please, sir?
I am happy to speak on both the amendment and...
I have you on for the amendment if you want to put your hand down. Thank you, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to clarify, Indu is not studying Stellantis. We're in the middle of a very lengthy clause-by-clause discussion on Bill C-27. It was a motion proposed at the end of Indu, probably still discussing it now, to have the Minister appear, the Minister of Industry appear, but the motion has nothing to do with the contract, so they're very different.
I appreciate my colleague, Mr. Bachrach, putting forward the amendment and looking at sending this back to Indu, because Indu has been dealing with this issue for months. We had spirited debate at the Indu committee and on this very issue. But I have some grave concerns with this request.
A few hours later.
But to open up, to go from this issue.
Sorry, let me interrupt you for a point of order. Sorry, go ahead, Mr. Bachrach.
Mr. Kuzmierczak, a chance to breathe and take a drink of water. But with all due respect, I think we're debating the amendment, which is to refer this motion to Indu. And while I appreciate Mr. Kuzmierczak is passionately defending his government's approach on these contracts, I don't think it has anything to do with the very procedural amendment to refer this to another committee. So I would just ask, Mr. Chair, that you rule on my point of order.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Bachrach. I was wondering when someone was actually going to bring that up. Our colleague from Northern British Columbia does have a point, Mr. Kuzmierczak. We are debating the amendment and not the motion itself, if you could get to the amendment. But you had a good run there, sir.
No, I appreciate that, but again, I have an issue with the direction of this entire discussion.
One eternity later.
And to watch the Conservatives playing games with this investment, blowing the circus up on this investment, makes me sick, and it makes me angry. And it makes me frustrated because we should not be playing games with people's jobs. And we should not be playing games with the future of communities like ours, like mine, working class communities that have gone through hell in the last 8 years.
I was struck by some of the things that MP Komirchuk said, and he may not have thought we were listening, we were, but I was particularly struck by the fact that he said his community's been through hell the last 8 years. I can understand why on this Liberal government, why his community's been through hell in the last 8 years, and
Point of order, Mr. Chair. Point of order, Mr. Chair. I don't appreciate Mr. Perkins putting words in my mouth that I did not speak. So if you could take that back, I'd appreciate it, especially on an issue as important as this.
Point of order, Chair. I don't appreciate Mr. Kuzmarchuk not knowing that not appreciating something is not a point of order.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Perkins. Continue, please.
Thank you. So, contrary to what MP Komirchuk said, Indu is not doing a study on this issue. I don't know why he keeps saying it. Perhaps he was having some challenges with the internet connection when I was speaking earlier to it, when I said that Indu is in the middle of Bill C-27, the government's bill on privacy and artificial intelligence. If you're going to do business with the government of Canada and you're going to suck all this government taxpayer money, Volkswagen, Stellantis, Northvolt, Honda, if you're going to take that money, you better be prepared for some public scrutiny. You better be prepared to prove that you're hiring Canadians. And it's beyond me why the NDP does not want clarity on this. The motion at the Industry Committee, by the way, for those of you who don't watch the clock, ended an hour ago. That's why people are here. Ended an hour ago. That motion was only to have the ministers appear. It wasn't to actually have the contract. It wasn't there to have the contract released.
Order, please.
The contract to be released. I'd love to have the union to come.
Just voted against that.
Then let's have him here.
Mr. Massey, Mr. Perkins.
I have the floor.
Mr. Perkins, please continue.
Why won't you release the contracts? What's wrong with it? Why are you afraid to release the job conditions in the contracts? Because there is no Canadian requirement for Canadian jobs in those contracts. And again, I look around the table. Only one person here at this table has read the contracts, and it isn't anyone on the government side or Mr. Komirchuk, who's sitting in wherever he's sitting, attending this committee. And it isn't, to be fair, my colleagues, I've read the contracts, and there's no government commitment requirement in that contract. I can tell you what's not in it. I can't tell you what's in it, but I can tell you what's not in it. A commitment that the jobs have to be Canadian. That's why we need to have this done. This is the union saying this stuff is happening. I don't understand why the NDP Liberals don't want to get the clarity of the contracts. Why don't they want to get clarity of the contracts? Release them.
Colleagues, Mr. Perkins, I'm going to interrupt. We're running out of resources, and because of the continual interruption, I'm going to suspend for a question period. Clerk is going to contact everyone for a continuation of this meeting after we are suspended.